There we go. Live after watching that sack of shit. This is all I can describe it for. I can't. I've got nothing intelligent or clever to say about it. It was just a sack of shit, and I'm really very, very unimpressed by that. I've got no good words for it. I really haven't.
I've got some good words for you.
Okay, let's go with it. I'll defer to you and let's have some good words.
What I was really pleased to see was a team who was willing to take the chances presented by the other team, even though they're a limited team. They played within their limitations. They played with passion. They kept it tight. They needled when they needed to needle. Like I said, they took their chances, pounced on mistakes when they were made. Didn't necessarily pressure the other team into mistakes. Played like the shirt meant something for them. Played like they were appreciative to be in that situation. Oh, I'm talking about Burnley, aren't I?
Yes, you do.
Right, back to Wolves. I can't leave anything positive.
No.
Actually, I can. I think at Nori, I don't think he had a catastrophic.
That's fair point. That's fair point.
Until Semedo
until
Semedo ran away from the ball when Traore slowly kicked it towards him, which I thought was, I mean, some people would say, Traore, what are you doing there? And some people would say, Semedo, why don't you actually go to the ball? Like McNeil,
run towards it and
it does help.
Be alert that to danger maybe.
Yeah,
it was just a calamitous all-round performance.
Yeah. Then we take Semedo off because, I mean, I didn't think he was the worst player on that pitch. No. And Saiss then manages to get back to Rui, who then does something bizarre. Then he loses, and then, guess what? I don't know if it was Dendoncker or Jose who was at mistake for the cornered goal from Wood. Nobody covered themselves in glory on that one.
No, that's right.
Bowley came out a bit too far. Happens. Wood just turned, twisted, and far post for Rui, wasn't it? But it was in that perfect position you talk about if you're a striker. Yeah, just put it out of the hand.
It's a good finish. I mean, it's a good finish. To be honest, he can't blame Rui for any of them. He does what he can, and he pulled out a bloody good save as well. So
all you got to say is utterly deserved defeat.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying to you off before we started. The biggest disappointment for me was the second half performance.
Yeah,
because they just didn't. There's nothing. There's literally nothing. Didn't even win the second half. You couldn't even win. Couldn't even draw the second half. You couldn't drag out a bore draw second half. It was terrible. And frankly, there's a lot of players who should be very ashamed of themselves to call themselves professional because they were not. No one seemed bothered. That's what I think is the most concerning. They're kind of, we'll flap our arms out a few times, but generally, you just.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to single out Dendoncker because I usually do, because I'm that kind of guy. But he wasn't the only one who did it. Where a ball would go past him, and you'd just see him trot behind him. No effort to actually chase down or close down or even just put pressure on. No, we'll just trot alongside or behind. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. Look like I'm on the pitch, but it just looked like a team. It looked like a team. It was a lovely sunny day, and they've gone to the beach and they're having a kick about with their mates. Doesn't matter whether we win this or not. We'll just knock it about.
Yeah, and then a few kids who actually want to play football. I'm not putting my foot in there. It looks a bit dangerous.
Yeah, it might hurt myself, but
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of feel for Vitinha, Gibbs-White and Fabio coming onto that. Yeah, on one sense, it's a chance to change the game. But if it's not happening around you, they'll get criticised, but I don't think they deserve it.
I mean, my only criticism on it is they've come on the game and they've just fell into exactly the same mindset straight away.
I think Vitinha, he seemed to be coming forward. He was... I think there was more forward momentous, but there's nothing there. There's no guile or I mean, the number of times you look for a pass and one player plays it in front of the other, or they play to the left, but the player seems to have completely written a book about how they're going to receive it in a different way. Traore's probably the worst for this. I can't remember who it was, but towards the end, the ball was played. I think it was Vitinha, it might have been Gibbs White, but somebody played the ball just in front of Traore, and he thought you'd no intention. You'd literally no intent. No, intention's the wrong word. It was inconceivable that the ball would go in front of you. It wasn't like, oh, can't be bothered to run. It was, oh, the ball's gone there. How did it get there? And you think, there's no anticipation there. There's no anticipation because you feel that playing a forward ball is culturally unacceptable at Molineux. It's like going into a supermarket without a mask on, coughing on people. It's just bizarre how forward impetus. It's almost like.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's like, to me. I mean, I know I posted this earlier, and I've said, and my comment basically was, it's like they haven't trained all week. All they've done is do a couple of setups for some social media where they're all laughing and joking and showing how we're training. But it's like they haven't trained. You know, what should we do? Oh, we're going forwards. But what if we're going forwards? You sure? I mean, what happens if we lose the ball? And then they're all back in defence. There's nothing there. Do they need? It's almost like, do they have a coach who has a forward mentality? Because it's like they need a voice in that training, in that group.
There's no forward.
Yeah, that's it. Who understands forward play? If they're all defensive, fine. That's no problem. Then that's great. It's served a purpose. But whoever used to say, when we counter attack, lads, it means we go up the other end of the pitch quite quickly. We did it once. We did actually do it.
Yeah,
once.
we did do it once. Yeah.
And look how good we looked when we did it.
Yeah. But the trouble is, it's tiring, and it's too tiring to do that.
Yeah, right. It's sunny though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's
we've played a whole season,
Yeah, it's shocking.
We've had no cup runs and we've had no extra European games, but it's still tiring and you don't want to do it. But I always thought that being out of possession and stuff like that was actually more tiring than being in possession.
It is. If you played football, you know that, don't you? There's nothing wrong with them. But then again,
So why do we like to give possession up so much?
Because we know that's, for the first 2 years, that's what Nuno trained. And to be honest, that is his philosophy: train defensive and then counter. But the trouble is with that.
But the counter used to be different though. It used to be, we didn't press in the. I always looked at it as, we didn't press in the opposition's half, but as soon as they crossed the line, we pressed. We pressed a lot, and
that was still going on. Like, none of their goals were from intense build-up play. They're all from
you're right.
They're all from mistakes and set pieces.
They were all just put it out to a winger just to knock it across. I mean, that's basics, surely, that we should be able to deal with.
It comes down to man though, doesn't it? I mean, Cody, when he's exposed like that one-on-one, he's not the best defender in the world. That's not his fault. That doesn't make him a bad person, bad player. It's just that you can't, and we've said this repeatedly on here, you can't leave him in that position. Because in fairness, making an interception, coming across to make a challenge because you can read the game, he can do that really effectively. But what he can't do, he can't run back against a pacey player. He's never going to do that. No. And he's always been vulnerable to somebody who's got a bit of skill. What are you going to do? You can't blame him for that. If you put him in that position, he's going to be in trouble. He's not to blame there at all. But it comes down to the intent of the team. Coming back to the intent of the team thing.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you keep on training to be defensive all the time, do you think Man City, they train to, as soon as we lose the ball, win it back no matter where it is on the pitch? And Harry, because the philosophy there is, one, we're probably better, we're as good as tackling as anyone else. They're probably a bit better because they've got quick feet. But a team will panic and play it out to safety, and the chances are you'll win it back if you do that. Now, the problem with doing that is you need pace at the back in case they break that press. We don't have any with Neves, Cody. There's no pace in that central spine. I don't think Stace is particularly fast. Bolly's okay. But
I don't know. Bolly got done.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah. So you know we're vulnerable, and with Matinho, who's like he just hasn't got the physical. Age just caught up with him. Him and Neves both against a team like Man City. You need them in there. Against Burnley, you don't. You want something different, but you'd expect a bit more from. In fairness to the midfield, if you look at it, diagonal balls in, individual mistakes. None of the midfield were really that responsible for the goals, other than the set piece, you could say. So you've got to put that down to defenders. So,
until Burnley scored, they didn't look that bad. They didn't look. They looked okay, but they just completely went to pieces. But the forward play itself.
Well, I just in the forward line.
There's just
giving it away.
I know. I like Podence, but he was giving it away. He was giving it away a lot. But it's not just that. I mean, it's just bearing in mind we're meant to be a well-drilled side. We're only well-drilled defensively. We are not well-drilled in an attacking sense whatsoever because we don't have any. We don't have any sense.
No. No, there's no. I mean, who's driving into the box? Who's meant to be driving? I mean, unless Traore decides to cut in. Usually, sometimes we'd have Podence behind the front players, but in that formation, we're not going to have that because he's primarily wide. And he, if he's not in his game, he does get muscled off. It's referees aren't going to accept if you just back into a player and then fall over, they're not going to give it. And I don't want them to give a foul for that. At some point, you have to take some responsibility and say, I've got to make you do something. I mean, when he went down in the penalty area for the ridiculous fight, he was pushed a bit. I mean, if you're going to give a foul every time that happens, and we've said this time and time again, we don't want soft penalties, and at least fall naturally. Nobody flies 5 meters away.
In a swan dive.
It's just pathetic. That kind of thing's pathetic. And Jose, I just don't see what he gives us. Just don't.
No. That's the thing. I mean, Jose was expecting. I kind of you give him some games to get into it, and you thought after the last game when he scored, and absolutely invisible. I have to just say, what on earth is that wobbling head there next to you, Alex?
What?
I'm sorry, Alex Jonathan.
That's Carlos Martinez. He's a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Can we sign him up? He's going to be more useful than our team.
He's oft injured. Seemed like a rough one today. I'm not going to lie. I set my alarm at 5:30 and then woke up at 6:30 and then couldn't bother after already being down a hat trick. So
I'll be honest, you made more effort than the team
did. Yeah.
I saw some highlights, and that's about enough for me.
It was all Burnley, I'm assuming, the highlights.
So yes,
it wouldn't have been, I don't think there was a highlight.
So next year, huh?
Well, if they continue this, I'll be honest. If they don't change something, and I mean properly change something, not we'll sign a couple of players, or there's solutions in the team, or there's something like that, they'll go down.
Yeah, we're in big trouble. I think
they will. There's no the whole season. This whole season has, to be honest, has never kicked on. And it's not just this season. It was the end of last season, and you could blame last season. You could go, fair enough. We've played loads of games. We've done all this European stuff and the COVID stuff and all that. This season, nothing's happened. And okay, you might go, oh well, there was no pre-season. Okay, there was no pre-season, but you'd get something. You'd get some semblance of a pattern of play or something like that. But it's gone. Everything has gone, and it is seriously disturbing me in terms of where they think they're going to be next season, because they need to fundamentally change. I mean, it's not little tweaks. It's an absolute sea change of. Otherwise, they will be going down because that team will not survive. Like,
maybe a relegation battle, maybe not going down for sure. But
I don't. I'll be honest. Watching them today, I don't think they've got the mentality for a relegation battle.
No, I'd agree there. And remember, we're likely to lose a player, one of our better players. Fortunately, we don't have any better players after today, but nominally we go. And somebody made a point, and I think it's a fair one about Jota. He wasn't getting in our team toward the back end of last season, and people were criticising him. I honestly think if you put Fabio, if you put Neto, if you put Neves, if you put Etnori, if you put Saniga in the right team, they're stars.
Oh yeah. I don't think bad players. I don't think they're bad players at all.
Troy's a bit more challenging though. But there are players in there.
Oh no, I think Troy are in the right side. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Play him the right way. He's definitely.
We actually seem to be having a negative effect on players, and that's if you're I can't argue with the argument that football's a business, and if it's a business, you want your assets to grow in value, not depreciate. And we just seem
we saw how that went this week, by the way.
Sorry.
We saw how that went this week, by the way, the business side of the game.
Yeah, it was a bit false, though, wasn't it? When the Champions League are talking about the love of the game and the traditions. Yeah, it was because it was your business model that was going. You started it by getting these teams to that level. As you always find in life, you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. If you allow greed to take hold, they're just going to be more greedy. Well, what a surprise! But anyway, on the English Super League, in a way, watching that game, I when I watch football, I know I've said this to you, Bod, before. I don't care if we lose. It's a longer. Well, I do not. But the thing that really grinds me up is passion. If I go and watch it, if I went down to the local park, there might be a game on, and I could watch that from a distance, and I'd always have respect for is trying. It doesn't matter what the score is. You may be down, you may be playing a bad team, I've seen games when it's 9 against 11 because only 9 turned up, but they try and keep it down. It's passion. They're not getting paid for that. They're just doing it. When it's 6-0 down, they don't want to be there, but they play on for passion. Let's just get to the end, guys. Let's just, we're playing for the shirt. The shirt is Burton Joyce Reserves, if we're crying out loud. What the hell is going on? What it's got to be a motivational thing.
We've sat there. Well, that's it. We've sat there losing that game, seeing our players not fit, and we've still sat through to the end of it with some sort of thinking we should still be trying to win this or trying to get back in this. And
one goal. Give us a goal.
Something to look like. Win the second half. You haven't won the second half. You haven't done. You can't. There's nothing to grab onto out of that at all. There's no grain. I don't. I genuinely. I've just that it was just terrible. It was just so.
Should we address the elephant in the room? Because it's going to be all over the mix, and we should really address it, shouldn't we?
Well, go on.
Is it time to say, Nuno, enough's enough? We've got to be honest here. That's the debate.
Well, you've probably heard me say it quite a few times. No, for the simple reason, but only if there's a big shake-up in the coaching staff. That's what I want to see. I want some fresh voices and some fresh thinking brought in there. If that doesn't happen, and we just try and go ahead with, and we spend the summer chasing after whoever the latest starlet is, and don't address any of the issues in the team, then, well, as I said, we'll get relegated. Unless there's fundamental sea change in how in the coaching, because as I was saying, it feels like it doesn't look like they train together. It just looks like you've got all these lovely social media videos of everyone laughing and joking and all getting on and all like lovely and all loving each other. And then you watch them on the pitch, they just look like they've never seen each other before.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the defence is, and I've thought for at least 2 seasons, to be honest, that the defence is where you've got to have defenders who can just snuff out danger.
Yeah.
Now, they will make mistakes, and we could have the best defenders in the world and be talking about a 1 or 2-0 defeat and a lackluster performance. Not 4 though, but I think we need utterly strength in defence and pace in central midfield. That would be my thing. I completely agree. I mean, for me, it comes down to when Jeff Shee looks Nuno in the eyes and say, "Okay, what do you want? How much is it going to cost? And what's your philosophy for next year?" At some point, you have to say. And I personally, I don't, unless you can get a manager, and this is where it comes down to, are they already there? Who will work better with these players. You don't change. You in a way, it's like, no, I'm not letting you off. I have to pay you off. After that, no, you're gonna answer up to that.
Unless fix it. Personally, I want them to fix it. I like Nuno and I like the way he comes across in his calm manner and all that, and I do like that. But
you've got to admit there's something wrong.
There is definitely something wrong. I am starting to wonder: is he going to just resign at the end of the season and have a break?
Yeah. And if he was,
and that's filtered through somewhere,
Yeah, if he was, and that has filtered through, then the honest thing to do is to say that, because it takes the pressure off the players a bit.
Yeah.
To say, I'm a dead man walking, so to speak. I'm going, but and here are the reasons: haven't seen my family. My ingrowing toenail needs treatment. Whatever it is,
whatever it is. I mean, to be honest, if that was the case, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. But it's not like you haven't earned it.
It's been It's been a terrible year for everybody. I don't blame anyone for. We all know it's hard, and people say, "Well, I earn minimum wage and I have to go to work." Having money doesn't. When you've got mental health problems, money doesn't come into it. It's just ridiculous. I'm not saying he has, but in those areas, money's irrelevant when you're in those positions. But I'm paying not as much as I would for season tickets by any stretch of the imagination and going down to the games. But the experience as a fan on TV, I hate it. If this, I'm not interested in the big teams. I don't watch them. I used to tune into the odd game, but I'm just not interested in them. I'm interested in Wolves.
Yeah.
And without the passion there in the stadium, without fans there, it literally, I literally might as well go down to the park. If I'm not seeing passion, for me, that there's no football. Football without, if I want skills, a computer can simulate that with FIFA. You know what I mean? It's a game of passion. VAR's killed it. This ridiculous season's killing it. I can live with that, but what I can't live with is it going on next year. It's got to change next year.
Yeah.
It's got to change, or else we are in trouble.
I do think that next year, like, I assume that Raul's back. It's probably if Nuno stays, it's gonna be Europe or bust, right? Like, a top 10 finish isn't good enough next year even. So I don't think we pull the report at all. But
no, as I said, this is why I'd like to see, at the very least, say a bit of a shuffle round in some of the in the coaching and the mentality.
I mean, realistically, you're not going to get that. Like, those are all his guys. It's his chums, But they're not. But it's just not going to happen realistically.
Yeah. But let's have a look at the best managers. They do that. They move people around just in the same way as you move players around. They move players around. It should be the same with the coaches and stuff. They need fresh ideas.
Are we
Focus on
sure
that.
he's the best manager? Like I love him to death, but he had obviously we got lucky and brought in absolute world-class players in the championship league the year that we came up, and that momentum carried us for a year and a half after that. So
I
don't know.
No, I think you're right. You've got a very good point there, Alex. Is he the best manager? Clearly not. He's not the best in the world. The issue is, would a better manager come that we could afford? So, you know, if I'm going to buy a new car, I don't go down to the Porsche garage or the Ferrari garage, do I? Because I can't shop in that market. So the club will have an idea what they can spend. It's like the Mourinho situation. What's the point of taking Mourinho? You know, it's like saying, I want a Porsche to do the school run. You know what I mean? If we're at the bottom end of the table next year, as Bod alluded to, maybe Sean Dyche is the better manager than Mourinho, because he'll know what we need to get out of that. So we have to be brutally honest and say, what are we aspiring to? What can we afford? And what's the best option, both players, manager, and coaching? And on the coaching thing, I think you're absolutely right, Bod. If you look at Alex Ferguson, he regularly rotated his coaching staff, and he did that to keep it fresh. Yeah. And he was able then to take a step back and almost deflect poor performances. He was the escalation point.
Well, I'll be honest, it happens in the industry. I mean, I work in the design industry, and a lot of large agencies never keep designers for more than 3 years for that very reason.
Yeah,
they rotate them round because it's very easy with creative terms to become stale or just get comfortable in a particular style. And I don't see it being all that different in what's happening here. I can certainly see parallels in that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
bizarre analogy to make, I know, but
it's not. It's not.
I can see that parallel.
But if you look at the game, it does change. I mean, if you look at West Ham, and you got to credit Moyes and the West Ham team. Probably, you could joke about, well, they haven't got their fans to contend with this season. But if you and Villa would be another example, is that at the end of the day, let's take this game. It's fine margins. It's 4 mistakes. 4 goals, 4 mistakes. That means that Burnley gets, in footballing terms, a massive margin victory. Now, you could argue that that's down to psychology. You could say, well, why aren't you challenging for a corner? For the ball on the corner. You put anything on Chris Wood's for that goal, it doesn't happen. He has to fight a bit more. You just get your shoulder on, you get your elbow into his side. That goal doesn't happen. So what's going on there? Bolly, where are you, mate? Where's your head at? Size, Rui, just clear it. We're under pressure. Size is not used to playing left back. So there's something there which you could argue these 4 mistakes, and we were poor. But if they didn't happen, that's a 0-0. That's how bad Burnley. They had a few more shots on target. They definitely deserved to win. But really, if we were playing Man City, if we'd been playing Man City today, that's a 10-0. That's 10 or 12.
They'd have took all the stars off, brought on some other ones for experience, and they'd have walked.
And they would have killed us.
Absolutely, they'd have walked the ball in. Just walked it now because we'd given up.
I mean, anytime you're not jumping to defend a corner or a set piece, you're probably giving up a fiver right away. So,
well, my point is, and it's this is where I was leading to with what Bod said, is if you've got the same management team and you've been hearing the same message for what is now 4 years, it doesn't matter if it's true. You're hearing it, but you're not listening to it. Whereas maybe it's to say, right, we're off to the Welsh mountains, get that pack on, you're up that hill you've got to do 10 miles up and down that hill. What? Hold on, why are we doing that? You're doing that because we lost 4-0. Right, now we're playing football. and you go, this is madness. This has nothing to do with football. But suddenly you've taken them outside their comfort zone. And in any situation, driving is a good example. You're driving on the motorway, everyone's doing 60 miles an hour, and you drive past them. You look at, you're overtaking, you slow down, you look in the car, you think, you check your mirrors, you look again, and they're just not looking at you. They're just singing along to the song. And I've done this on motorways because you stay there and think, when are they going to acknowledge they're in the middle lane, they're not moving over, and they're just, it's because they're on autopilot. There's no, you go past other people and they're terrified of driving and they're looking, they're alert, they make mistakes too, and they get idiots who drive too fast, like me, maybe. Everyone's different, but the point is, there are psychological points all of which can result in danger. And danger is lack of concentration, danger is taking too many risks. There's a happy medium you've got to find. And we just seem to be overtrained defensively, no creativity. And when we make a mistake, there's no recovery. We've seen that all season. And we need to change. Some things radical's got to change. And whether that can come from Nuno, come within the coaching staff, although I do think we do need to change. And we do need upgrades in personnel, but we've got to radically change. We're not a work in progress anymore. Yeah. We're falling apart.
Yeah, you can't. That I don't think that excuse can be used anymore. Oh well, I'm not going to have. I'm just reading on some of there's people using there's a global pandemic. The whole point about a global pandemic is it's global, which means it applies to everybody. So that one will only wash so far. You can't constantly use that as a reason for.
Well, it's actually a negative, isn't it? Because what you're saying is the implication is, one, we're missing our families. Well, a lot of people are. My parents, my mother and family, I can't see them. Doesn't matter if they're in Portugal or in Pontefract, I can't see them. It might as well just be a spa. That's going to change a bit now. And the fan thing, if we're relying on us wonderful fans to be there, then that would definitely say there's something wrong. The players aren't as good as they think they are. The global pandemic thing is, it's the same for everyone. Liverpool have fallen apart a bit. Tottenham and Arsenal were probably falling apart anyway. Maybe it's a factor, but no, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can put it as a factor for a while, but after a while, that starts to wear thin for me. Where quite a few things start to wear thin because you've got to find a way around that. Yeah, because it's not going to change. It's not going to go. Oh well. In that case, we'll just stop the pandemic then now. I didn't realise it was affecting you that like that.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to that's part of dealing with stuff. It's like having injured players. You can't moan about having, we've got all our key players out injured. Yeah. There's always a risk of that happening. That's a risk. You've got to factor that in, that at some point a player will get injured. In fact, we've been really, really lucky, I think, over the last few seasons in terms of it. And now that could be down to a great medical team. Probably helps having a good medical team. But there's ones like Raul's head injury. You could have the greatest medical team in the world. That's not going to stop that happening. That happens. There's nothing you can do about it. So you've got to. These things can't be used constantly as there is a point at which you've got to say, right, you need to fix this because it's now this is your responsibility. So this is the coaching team's responsibility to fix, and the players for that matter, because I think some of them are a little bit comfortable. I think, and again, you can come back round to the small squad thing and say, why are they comfortable? Because they're in a small squad. There's no competition for them. So
I don't
mean,
mind
I'm not bothered by it. I personally, I actually don't mind the idea of a small
No,
squad.
I
I understand. I get where they're coming from in that. However, you can't. There's positions that we have neglected we've neglected since the championship, frankly, and that is the centre of defence.
Yeah.
We've never really moved that on. I think our forward play, unlucky to lose Raul, which means it's a bit shorter, and we're unlucky now to lose Neto. But that we have got covers, a bit more cover there, but our central defence is just what it is holding us back. But if it's not addressed, then at some point you've got to turn around and say, coaching staff, this is down to you.
Yeah, I
as well as the mentality. I mean, I'm never going to get, I fully accept and understand. I'm never going to get my all-out attack because that's not the manager that we've got. However, what we got in the first couple of seasons was a defensive team that had a good pressing system and a good quick counter-attack, swift counter-attacks, which had purpose. The purpose has gone. And that's why we're seeing so many turgid performances. And then we want to change to a 4. If we want to change to a 4, we've got to have more purpose in attack. Or if you're going to hold on the ball, hold on to the ball. Fine. I've got no issue with that. Again, it's nothing to do with me liking gung-ho attack. It's if you're going to have possession, you've got to look like you want that possession. If you lose it, you win it back, and then you hold on to it again. But you move the ball around with purpose. It's just too comfy. And then the reason I get annoyed is because I then see all these training videos of we're all patting each other on the back for doing this well and that well, and then you get a performance like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've, I'll say it to them blue in the face. If I know that if I can get a good shape and I can slightly press, that you'll play the ball back. You don't even have to be a good footballer to counter that.
Not particularly.
If you play against the Man City, where they're always looking to stress the defence, and they're happy to take the risk and lose the ball because they know they're going to commit to winning it back, you have no respite, and you end up just trying to get rid of that hot potato. Every time teams get those 2 banks of 4, put a bit of pressure on the ball player. You saw it with Podence a few times, and in fairness, he didn't lose it this time. But it goes back to Cody, and it starts again. And the penetration, if we get into the final third, we're lucky. And then we rely on Traore going for a run down the wing. And if there's nobody in the box, then who cares? Who cares? Cross it all day long. Let Traore get to the byline. As long as he doesn't cut in and get a shot off. If there's only one player in the box and we've got 3 defenders, if they can score, they're world class. They deserve to, and that we're almost like it's almost like a formula. It's so cool.
Well, a good example. You say Traore that. I mean, there's a point. I commented this on the match thread, and Traore picks up the ball halfway line. You know what he's going to do, and he has space to run into. And at that point, and I'm not criticising Traore here because what he does is he picks the ball up. He looked. And there's 4 people, I think, 3 or at least 3 or 4 Wolves players ahead of him. He then does what he normally does. He cuts it in a bit and then goes forward. So, they play with Traore all the time. They know what he's going to do. They know where he's going to go. They probably know they probably know because he's probably been told to go in that direction. So he's gone down the wing. As he gets to the first part of the box, the goal area, he's looked up for someone to cross it to, and there is maybe one player up there with him. One player has bothered to even make an attempt to get towards the box. He's looked up, and that player isn't even level with him. Now I know Traore is fast, but he isn't that fast. I mean,
sorry, I was just going to say it's also going to be Dendoncker that's late making that run, and he's not the best shooter. At least he's plotting there.
Yeah. Well, there is that, but the thing is, Traore's first looked, he's got the space to put a ball in unchallenged.
Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing. I was just making a joke.
and he's
Our
look.
strikers aren't going to be there,
no.
but our plotting central midfielder is going to be.
Well,
Going to be there ready
no,
to put it in the stands.
But my point is, there was 3 people ahead of him at the start of this move, and none of them have still got into the box. So he's then had to check his run and go out wide, and then try and put a ball across, which then gets cut out. And you're like, well, and then all you just get is the raft of Traore abuse. And I'm like, well,
yeah,
he actually had the intelligence to look up and see if there was someone, and there was no one there. So he's gone a second time to give them time to get. Still, no one there, and it gets cut out. And you're like, well, what are the? We've got 3 attacking players in front of him, and they've not like a level with him, literally 10 yards in front of him, and they've still not been able to amble into the box. I mean, how are you ever going to score like that?
I know.
Even if the tactic is to give it to Traore to run and cross it. It's like
there was a time when Burnley had, in the first half, had 5 players within 15 metres of each other on our 18-yard line, and I thought we'd never see that. We never see that.
And Burnley are meant to be a defensive team.
Yeah, and it just goes. It's just shocking how it's formulaic. It's if everyone's on their game, and we can pull out a hard-fought 1-0 on the counter against a bigger team, but it's these games, and we've always said it, haven't we? We lose to the bottom clubs because the bottom clubs have 0 to lose. Yeah, attack them. Just attack them. Yeah. Run at them. Lose the ball. We know we've got decent defenders. Yeah, we'll pull Traore down if we have to. It's not hard. You're not going to... there was a classic one where, I don't think it was a booking, where he just grabbed Traore's shoulder, pulled him back. Yeah. That happens all the time. And if you're Traore, you're thinking, well, what is the point of me risking my shoulder again? When I'm going to lose.
What's the point of me running all the way down here?
Yeah, for nothing. That's why I'd
like to look across and there's no one there.
I mean, he did. He did cut in. He took a few shots. I want to see that more because there's nothing else on.
No. But that's what needs to change. I mean, I'll be honest. I have no idea why we played 5 at the back today. Absolutely no idea.
Well, we needed 6 or 7 at the back, didn't we? Really?
Well, the thing is, you've got all those players there at the back, and if you can't handle simple crosses, you may as well not. You may as well not bother and put someone at the other end and actually do something.
Well, there's also
being defensive if you can't defend.
Well, there's also the element that it's quite a wide back 3, isn't it? So if you look at when Cody got turned inside out, Bowley misses the header. Saiss is right on the other side because Semedo's pushed up.
Yeah.
Because there's no sense. If there's a decent central midfield screen, then Bowley's further back, and you might have 2 back. So it's the central mid that misses the header, and it just feels like, you're talking about fine margins at this level, and if you can exploit them, you're going to win every time.
That's it. I mean, what you said about the hot potato as well. A lot of the time, some of the players they don't want that responsibility. They don't want the responsibility of the ball.
Yeah.
They don't want to be the last one who has to cross it in or make the final pass. They don't want to be the one in the defence having to do the defensive work. And I think that's one of the reasons we struggle with before sometimes is they're always looking for that sweeper to come in and do the work for them.
Yeah.
Or the midfield screen in front of them to do the job for them. It's like, I'm here for some set pieces and stuff like that, but most of the time, no. I don't know. It just needs a good freshen up. As I say, I like. They fine. They stick with an element. But if you want to have your basis as a defensive style, fine. But you've got to bring some people in who can teach some sort of form of attacking play based on that defense. If nothing else, based on that defensive team. Because at the moment,
I got to tell you though, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to shorter lines at the Hogs Head after games. So when I get over there in a year or two, it's going to be I'll be able to just get my turkey sandwich and just get a beer within 5 minutes instead of having to wait an hour. So
You should go to the Spoons, the Moon Under the Water. Is it the Moon Under the Water? I can't remember now.
Yeah, Moon of the Water.
Yeah, and just get the app and just sit at the table, put it in your app. That's what we ought to do. Get a table at Spoons and do this. Weatherspoons, that is. Alex, do you
I'm on
think
board.
are you a Nuno out man?
What?
Are you a Nuno out man?
I really don't know. I don't think so, but I think I will be after next year if it's the same thing. I think it's been weird. It's just there's clearly way more going on behind the scenes than any of us know. So it's impossible for us to really pinpoint something. Like something is way wrong. We know that. And it would probably be improper to just speculate exactly why. But I would say you let him buy who he wants to buy this summer and you go all in, because it doesn't take a genius to see that we're in trouble next year if we send the same team out there in random formations every Friday and Monday, since I guess we actually played on a weekend today, but and I still missed the game. So why does my opinion even matter? But it's early.
It's important.
But I think he's earned a full year of uninterrupted football to see if that magic can come back. So, and Raul will help.
Raul as well, yeah.
Well, we hope, well, as long as he comes back.
Don't you dare. All right, he'll be back. He's just, there's no reason risking him right now for this,
True. I mean that to me is a big one. I've said before that we miss Raul's defensive capabilities a lot, as well as his attacking prowess. And he's, we paid 37.5 million for him, and he's worth, he's shown his worth vastly more than that to us. That is going to be a big one. I think your opinion matters quite a lot, actually, Alex, because if fans like you, who you live in the States, you'll come over to watch a game. If we want to be more commercially successful, we need to appeal to more people like yourself. We have to acknowledge that in this world, that's a reality. So there is a concern that if we're dull, boring, and ineffective, and becoming a brief flash in the pan, then more than just the season falls apart if we don't put this right. So I think actually your opinion in many ways is more important than probably us legacy fans.
Yes, we're legacy fans. That's what it is.
I was waiting to get that one in.
I mean, I'm plastic by definition, right? Because I've had this conversation in many pubs over there. Like, oh, was your dad a Wolves fan? No. Your granddad? No. Well, then you're a plastic fan. It's like, that's fine, but my son's at least not going to be plastic since I'm taking the brunt for him. But I've seen Wolves like around. When we were in the championship, I would say they didn't know the league. When people were like, oh, what shirt are you wearing? But it's grown. We had a big Premier League party in October of 2019 here in Austin, and there were like 30 Wolves supporters out of the thousands of Premier League fans that were there. A lot of Liverpool fans that didn't know the words to "You'll Never Walk Alone." So take that what you will. So, but I don't know. I think Ronaldo coming over will give us some more visibility.
Yeah.
So Ronaldo, Messi, the fire Wolves to mid-table.
Well, let's hope. I mean, it'd be great if you do get over next season. Oh God, I so much hope that can happen.
I'll be over. I'll be happy when you guys are back, because I live through you guys sending me, like, I have several people that send me messages from games, so I always feel like I'm there. I see some of them on TV sometimes, so I miss the fans even though I'm not there. It's just so hard to watch without fans some of these games. So
I think also I think my comment about the Fulham game, which I missed the comment, would have been well, the Sheffield United game probably more so. If we'd been there, I would have come out delighted with that. A team who we've sent the team down. They're going to. It's going to be a cagey affair, but without fans there, it's a completely different experience. Every half chance is cheered, and every time you defend successfully, you're relieved. I think it's a totally different experience. A lot of these games are completely different with fans in the stadium. Individual mistakes will always happen. Maybe the you donkey Bolly, might have inspired him, but who knows?
Well, maybe not having the fans there is that they can constantly hear the coaches barking orders at them, and maybe when the crowd's in, they can't, and they can just play as natural footballers more.
Interesting, yeah.
I just thought that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the reason. So the vastly overcoached teams struggle more, and the ones that just given some basic instructions are more on sort of geeing up their players and go out there and do what I've told you beforehand, are doing better. Perhaps that's what it is. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's just a thought when you're saying that.
Yeah, there's something not right, isn't there?
Yeah. So, who was your man of the match?
The ESPN app. The ESPN app showed like match statistics, and it had highlights. And apparently, by its algorithms, the best player on the pitch today for Wolves was Rui Patricio. So, because he got a few saves.
Yeah, that's plenty. That's
probably
about right. It's not far off.
I can't make a determination because I don't count in so many ways, especially being that I didn't see it. So I'm going to go with Rui.
Okay, you'll go with technology. VAR has ruled man of the match.
Yeah, well, I've just got to go again. So I'm going to go for it, Nori. I think for a young kid at 19, 20, this kind of game is essential learning in a way. And I don't think he did too much wrong. So I'm going to go for Nori for just that reason. It's not particularly rational.
I'm going to curry favour with the faithful and say it was the fans for actually sitting and watching it and putting up with it. And for all the ones who watched it right to the final whistle, well done. Well done.
Is that a shot at me? It was
no,
6 in the morning.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. No. I saw one people who were just saying, "Oh, I've had enough." That's it. So if you watch it through to the end, you're my man of the match. Otherwise, if you're an actual player, I would go with probably Nori as well. Because I thought he's had some poor games in the past, but he's been a lot better. It seems he's a lot better now. He's been thrown into the deep end. Some players struggle with that, but it looks like he's doing better. So, yeah. And Patricio, because I can't go against technology. It is our master.
It is the future and the present.
So the next game. What's the next game?
It's the pilot. Do.
Who is that game again?
I think isn't it a championship exhibition match?
It could play. I think there's some small club on the outskirts of Birmingham.
Is it a friendly? I can't.
In West Birmingham. I don't know.
Sandwell? Is it something to do with Sandwell?
Sandwell. Yeah. I think
Sandwell
it was.
Town.
Yeah. Sandwell Town. That's our next game. How do we think we'll do against the lovely Sandwell Town, managed by Agent Sam?
Well, if we applied it to the computer, we'd lose 5-0. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Wolves. After the royal rocket that somebody is going to light up under somebody's backside. No, I'm going to go for 5-0. What the hell? I'm going to go 5-0 to Wolves because I'm insane. I was going to say that's one of my normal predictions. What do you think, Alex?
I think we'll probably lose 1-0 by giving up a stupid penalty.
far too realistic for my life.
Yeah, stop talking sense on here, Alex.
I think possibly for the first time on this, I'm actually going to say we lose 3-0. I don't think I've ever said on one of these, that we'd lose. But I do think we'll lose because I just don't. I think it will be the same. It'll probably be the same side pick. It'll be the same tactics pick. It will be the same attitude, and it will just be an absolute clusterfuck.
Maybe the formation will be like a 1-1-2-6, and
no. I don't
we'll just have everybody forward. And
no, I genuinely don't think the real sad part of it is I actually don't even think anything will change, and that's what really is the most upsetting.
We've been having the same conversation since July every match, so I could write down your points for you on some of these. It's been something's wrong,
and that's what it is. The most depressing thought is that even joking about playing everyone 10 at the back or 10 up front or something like that, it won't. It'll be the same, and that is the definition of insanity. Expecting something different to change. Anyway, there you go. I could talk more about it, but I'll just start moaning about the same thing. So we could wrap it up there. And
I think we should.
Enjoy the sunshine
Wolves.
for anyone who's in the Midlands. I believe it's nice and sunny where you are, Alex, as well.
It's Texas. It's always sunny.
That's a good point, yeah. Apart from when I go there and you get the most rain ever in the world, ever.
Yes. There's a hurricane, so.
I bring the rain. So, join us after the exhibition match against the small town from West Birmingham. Come and have your say. Hopefully we'll be celebrating a fantastic win, showing those poor people how football should be played.
Lord help Twitter if that game goes like this game. Like I don't know, Twitter might explode.
Well, yes, we could bring down the internet. Perhaps that's the plan.
No, we can't because there's a social media blackout, isn't it?
That's a good point.
Thank God.
Yes, that's a very good point. And on that, definitely going to end it on that. That's a good point to leave it on. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. I'll speak to you all again soon.